Hey, folks. So here's the thing. I was just going to have the show and have some fun and do this and that, what have you. But now I've got a guest coming on. Great impromptu. I love that. And also, it was a really fun comic to read. So I'm excited. Hopefully, they're excited. We're all going to have a little fun. But, folks, first, I need you to go check us out YouTube, Facebook, wherever it is, because I'm Antonio Pomares. This is Hungry Bleak. And the show, it's starting right now. Hey folks, what's up? So we've got a great show for you today. I'm really excited to have them on. I got to read their comment today, Action Biters, which is at all ages, really fun, bright. Just to give you background, earlier in the week, I've been binging Moon Knight, which is just beat 'em up, very kind of visceral comic. And then I get this message saying, "Hey, would you like to talk about this comic? We'd like to be on Action Biters, which is this very um, family friendly, all ages, kind of superhero power, kids with powers comic, bright, fun. Love the different ends of the spectrum, and truly, it really brightened up my day. I'm not trying to be funny. I'm not trying to be um, really corny dad joke with the brightening thing. I promise. But I had a lot of fun with this, so I was more than happy to have these fellas on to talk about comic, talk about Kummba concepts. Folks, I would love to introduce you to Chris Elcar and Orlando Taylor. Thank you very much,
Hey,
gentlemen.
how you doing? How's everyone doing? Thank you for having us on, Antonio.
And no problem. Thank you so very much for being on. Like I said, I've been binging Moon Knight because I had to catch up on stuff, and then I get this comic, and I'm like, oh, and it's such a wonderful, just brightening up point. Even though I love Moon Knight, I love seeing kids with powers and interacting, and these children have been through a lot. But first, can you tell us about Kummba concepts?
Okay, sure. So Kummba Concepts is an idea we came up with back in about 2005, 2003, where we wanted to basically, we both grew up reading comic books, and we felt like there's not a lot of space out there or space being made for Black children who enjoy comic books to see representation of themselves. But it eventually expanded as because we have the media company Kummba Concepts. We want to be able to write for both film, television, animation, and comic books, all forms of media, so that we are being able to tell the stories or similar stories or our own stories within various media platforms. And we felt comics was a good place to start off. One, because um, there aren't a whole lot of all ages comic books out there. And two, we felt like it was an easy way for us to kind of explode onto the scene, so to speak, with this concept. And so the word Kuumba we took from the Nguza Saba from Kwanzaa, which means creative. And so that's what we wanted to be the studio. This place is all about these creative ideas and concepts that are basically centering, blackness, and black storytelling and ideas around, our worldwide experience, because we don't want to limit it just to like the African American experience. We're hoping that eventually we'll be able to speak to the experience, telling stories that speak to the experiences of Black people around the world.
I love that concept, and I love the fact that you did use Kumba
Mhm.
as the name, which I think again it means a lot, and that holds a very special place, but especially with us like getting more in touch with um each of
Culture. Yeah.
the culture and each of the
Mhm.
principles
Yes, sir.
involved. So and I love the fact that you're saying that you want to be across media.
Yes.
So and the way you're writing it, I think is very important. Chris, what can you tell us about this very fun and I really began to fall for these kids and saying I hope these kids are going to be okay. What can you tell us about Action Biters, which really pulled me in? And thank you very much. Truthfully, it was a very enjoyable read.
Appreciate it. I'll tell you about Action Biters is that, like I said, it's a action-based comic for for the young folks and all. We hear a lot about kids getting into comics and everything. There are less kids these days reading comics. So I'm like, well, you got to give them something to read. The characters that we grew up with, like Batman, Superman, they're aging out. So you need to basically, create new characters to bring them along with those characters like we did growing up as kids. And so creating Action Biters came from my love of Ninja Turtles as a child. And yeah, that's my inspiration for Action Biters, Ninja Turtles. And also Ben 10 shows like that. And I felt like, kids, it's one thing to have a show that basically we feel like, parents step in and say, well, this is too violent and everything and all that for a child, even though it's animated or it's a comic. So I decided to basically create a story that kids can get into at an early age and doesn't feel like their parents going to get at them for reading something that's basically violent. It's not a violent story, but it is action based. And I just feel like, young kids will gravitate to seeing themselves through the characters on the page or on the screen.
Mm-hmm.
That is a very important thing, and I love that.
That's our little promo from the Kickstarter.
Right.
I'm not mad at that at all. I love the fact that it's a team of children, so you can have these different personalities working together. And I love the fact you said Ninja Turtles, Ben 10, obviously, was one. I was actually feeling some of Bionic 6 as well.
Mm.
Which is one.
You brought back some old school stuff.
Look, this is what I do. Just because that was a favorite of mine, and it was one that's like a hidden treasure. But I really enjoy group dynamics and having a group of kids because they're already children, so they're developing, but then having to work together and as a team. I really enjoy themes like that, especially seeing that it was children of different shades of color and different backgrounds, but still having this same ideal, even though there was some conflict, which I did like seeing, which
and
is
that's the
always
subtext
cool.
we wanted, just to interject. That's just the subtext we want to have to make it interesting also to adults. At the same time, we know it's geared towards children. And most, as you know, as a kid, we're kind of engaged in the bam, boom, power and the powers and seeing ourselves little kids, but also we wanted to give it a little bit of subtext so that adults would also, because that's one of the things about like even though TMNT started off very dark and adult,
right?
There are versions of it, and I think one of the reasons why I think it resonates so well with both kids and adults with TMNT Turtles, because I felt like a lot of the writing centered around, we have this stuff that keeps the kids, but we also have a little bit of a subtextual storytelling that also ingratiates adults into it. So you have this great, and that's one of the things I think we're trying to do to be unashamed of trying to make a comic for kids, but also have a little bit of something to make adults feel like this is also for me too.
That's very important, because just because something might be considered kid oriented doesn't mean that adults can't enjoy it.
Exactly.
Because all ages means it doesn't have to be something because you can have it be just enjoyable, just as a human being, as a person, regardless of age. And that's how I felt about this comic. It felt like a comic, but also felt very Saturday morning cartoon.
Yes.
And
that's exactly what we're going for.
Exactly.
So you got it completely.
Which some people may not know what that is right now, because that hasn't been a thing for a few years, but I love that concept. When can we expect more of this? I'm not gonna lie, this is kind of me being selfish, but also me asking a question. When can I get more of these characters? Because I really enjoyed them.
Like I said, sooner than later for issue 2 on Action Biters. We're basically in work right now, currently developing the final stages of the arc of the first 5 books. So I would say sooner than later on Action Biters issue 2.
Okay, and will it be going through Kickstarter as well, or will you be just outright producing it?
We're still basically working on that on that particular part of it. And I would honestly wouldn't want to go through Kickstarter. I'd like to just give it to the fans since they have been introduced to the characters already through issue 1. So we're still working that part out. So we will basically follow up with you on that one.
Yeah, and kind of like, it's of course one of those things that people don't understand is that when you're in indie comics arena, even managing a Kickstarter on your own, it takes a lot of effort and it takes a lot out of you. And it's why so many now utilize third-party campaign managers in order to run their Kickstarter campaign, because it takes a lot of effort away from you from the creative process to be able to kind of do the business management side. So it's enjoyable, and we got a lot of love in the process. But it takes a lot of energy from, particularly from an indie side, because you have so little amount of time to dedicate to the marketing after because you're also in the fray of trying to do more creativity work.
Yeah. You wear, of course, as an indie creator, we wear many hats, from creator first and foremost. Then you can't forget about the business side. That's the part you most certainly can't neglect. That's the part that keep people coming back and all, the business aspect of it on top of the creative aspect of the project.
Yeah, and then you have the social media part, which you got to keep going with that.
The marketing, yes.
Yeah, again, market, yes. And then basically just not losing your mind during this 30-day period or whatever period it is you have.
Right. And I realize you probably can appreciate that, because all the work you try to do in order, and when I say try, I don't mean a slight, just saying it's an effort, to reach your audience and to find the content that resonates with them and keep them coming back to you.
Yeah, and I'm very happy that creators are more open about business side of things, especially because some people think it's just, oh, you just make a comic and it's like, no, it's not. There's a business side of it as well. But I also like the fact that more creators are talking about Kickstarter and saying, if you're going to do it, this might be the best way to do it. And also be prepared to constantly be looking at either the site or maybe pledges that have fallen through or the marketing. There's always something going on. Like you're saying, many hats, like some at the same time. So you got to switch some. It's all a thing. So it can be very draining. But I always appreciate Kickstarters and saying that, I always try to tell people it's a way of it's a way of pre-ordering a comic, and plus you get some goodies, maybe a t-shirt, a mug, whatever variants, but it's also the fact that you're helping someone's dream come true. You're helping whatever concept they have in their brain, you're bringing it to reality. You're helping with that, and that's very important. What do you see as the future of Kummba excuse me, I don't know what's going on with my voice tonight. Kummba concepts in the next few years?
Our goal is to continue to grow in multiple ways, not only just on the comic book side, because Kummba Kickdoor Studio is basically a subsidiary of Kummba Concepts, which is our main company, and basically the production side studio. And so what we're hoping in the next 3 to 5 years is to begin to release content in other areas, including television and film, and as well as animation. So we've been working, as being creative, you're always coming up with new ideas, coming up with something. And what we find is that you're going to find that as the market shifts and demands, particularly after the various strikes, you find that a lot of different content have to sometimes go through various stages instead of going directly to. So you find sometimes people say, well, let's take this script that may have been for either a movie or a television show, and they might do an animation. They might say, let's do a video game with it first, or let's do a big graphic novel and see if we can drum up more interest in the particular product. And so that's what we want to do, is start doing those kinds of things in order to start really expanding where Kummba Concepts exist in the creative spaces.
And that's fantastic. I'm here for all of it. I will be because I love the fact. I mean, if you just want to make a comic, I'm cool with that too. I love it because I love having something to read. But if I hear people saying, "Oh, well, I'd like to go into different areas of media, and we want to kind of be across a different mediums and platforms," I'm for that too, because I love seeing that being built, and maybe one day seeing like on Amazon, seeing a channel right along next to Crunchyroll and and Stars and all those, and seeing Kummba Concepts and I'm like, well, I mean, let me subscribe to this real quick. Let me just go on and see all the info.
Yeah, you get it. Yeah,
you know what I mean. I'm trying to talk it into fruition. Is what I'm saying is I'm trying to say it now. You know what I mean. This is what we need exactly. As far as the side of comics, as far as like marketing, let's say, are there any cons or any events that you'll be going to in the next year or so?
In the next year or so, I would say we're on the West Coast, so it'll be easier to. Yeah. Of course, everyone's big goal overall is to get down to San Diego. So being that we're in California, San Diego and everything is basically is a given. WonderCon, EmeraldCon. Yeah, those cons that we're going to basically focus on going to in the next year.
Oh, that's outstanding. I love hearing about people going to cons. I know that because I'm on East Coast. So I know that there's also Black Comics Day is on West Coast. Okay, like I'm trying to familiarize myself more with events that are happening on the West Coast because I'm like, y'all are having so much fun. I'm like, damn,
Yeah.
I'm
And if
like,
you get
y'all
a
are having a
chance, you should
ball.
probably do it. And if you get a chance, you should probably come out and do a show at one of the West Coast cons and do an
I,
embedded show from it.
I mean, for like as me being for the next couple of years, my goal is to start going to more cons. My life changed a lot in the last couple of years.
Sure.
Um, all of our lives have really. I mean, especially
Mhm.
after the pandemic. So things have changed. Things are wild right now, and which is fine. Yeah, but one of my goals is to be able to go to more cons and actually, I love the experience of a con. I love sitting there and talking to a creator about their comic. Even, I'll already know about your comic, but I want to hear you tell me about. I want to feel that passion. I want to feel your soul when you're talking about it, and
Mm.
see how happy you are to gush over your creation, which is
Exactly.
cool to
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That experience, I think, like you just kind of like to kind of jump on top of that experience. That's kind of like when I first started going to cons. I got a chance to sit in on a seminar with Ed Brubaker, and he was
Oof.
talking about. It was like it was great to see him sitting there in his little hat and his glasses, because that's his deal. And seeing him at the time, and to see him talking about the passion he had for what he was writing, and him talk about his long-term experience, it really was affirming and confirming of my own personal pathway to get to the point where we're releasing our own stuff. Correct.
That's the thing. So
Mm.
I'm looking forward to hearing more about your media. I'm looking forward to issue 2, but in that time, I will probably be reading issue 1 probably about 2 or 3 more times. I'm gonna be honest with you.
Appreciate you.
Thank
I'm,
you.
I'm gonna be honest with you because the kids definitely interested me, and I will be definitely
And it is
interested.
for sale, if I may. It is for sale on the
Yes,
website. If you go to our website, KumbaConcepts.com, and click on the link for comics and merchandise, you'll be able to order T-shirts and or the comics as well. We have 3 different covers for the comics.
and it's I love. I meant to say this. I love the cover. The
Mm.
cover was it.
Which one did you
Which one you
get?
get?
I
Which one you?
got the. I'm trying to think. It was yellow. I'm trying to think of the artist who did it. It was
Oh, that's
the
that's
cover.
if you're talking about the yellow cover, that's a brother, one of our other brothers from yes sir, that is a brother
Yeah.
from Nigeria. His name is Indica Abiy. Indica Abiy.
This the cover was absolutely beautiful. I was looking. I was like, damn. It felt like I'm trying to remember his name.
Chris came up with that idea. It's actually an homage to a Devil May Cry cover. He could probably tell a little bit more about it.
Ooh,
Yeah, I'm a big Devil May Cry fan. So, and I
same,
saw, you see,
same,
Exactly.
right.
same,
So I
same.
saw some artwork and everything, and it inspired me. I'm like, man, I love that. That really pops, and it's very abstract and something you don't see on the regular. And
Mhm.
you get with comics and everything, you tend to get a lot of sameness, unfortunately. And so to see something, you don't see a bunch of bright yellow covers as well on books. So I was like,
Yeah.
let's do something like that and everything. It makes it pop. It literally pops off the shelf because of the color.
And then we had this idea that we felt like with this cover, we gave us a variation. So the main cover that was done by our brother Ema Samuels,
Who's also the interior artist.
who's also the interior
Ooh,
artist for the
okay.
first cover A. The interior artist who did the cover A, we let him do kind of more of a traditional cover with the kind of that looks like a traditional comic book cover, characters kind of like together and like this kind of like team up. Then
Yeah.
the cover in the middle gives you a little bit more of an action-based cover where you can kind of see a little bit more of their power display. And then we have this other one to kind of meet those guys and gals who are into anime, anime a lot. So that cover is an homage to an anime style cover of a Devil May Cry graphic novel.
Right, and cover B was done by Tariq Holmes, who's also working on the Epiphany engine. If you guys haven't donated to that project, please go there and to that Kickstarter and donate to them, please. We really need this project to get funded and to be in the marketplace real soon.
I think last time we checked, they were looking for about $15,000 more. They're doing this huge graphic horror novel where they're going to have about, I think it was like 30 or 40 different stories, and they have a bunch of artists who have very diverse artwork coming in there. And I think brother Barnes, who does Philadelphia, is one of the people who would help managing that project.
Yeah, they've got like a murderer's row of hitters.
Yes, sir.
Like I'm like I was going to listen. I was like, oh my god! I was like, oh my god, are you serious? I was every name. I was like, Oh yeah, yes, yeah. Like there's nobody that I said. Everybody was like, yes, 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 yes,
Right.
yes, yes. It
And
was
one of the reasons
incredible.
we're trying to highlight them because a number of those guys, and one of the things we had a number of people who were involved in that project to help amplify us in our Kickstarter.
Right.
So we definitely want to return the favor, but also show that there is, despite what you might hear sometimes, there is some camaraderie amongst Black creatives in the comic book space, despite
Right.
some of the unfortunate situations that may have happened over the past year.
I think that. Well, first I'll say the yellow cover I think is my favorite. It reminds me
Okay,
of
thank you.
Curry Andrews, who
Okay.
did he did
Excellent.
Iron Fist. He did One Percenter. He did a couple other things. It feels like that, which is why I think I love it because of the yellow again. It
Mhm,
just
mhm.
it just hit me so much. The other covers are beautiful as well, but that yellow one just strikes again.
Yes.
Yellow, like you said, you don't see very often unless it's like a Yellow Lantern or Green Lantern cover. You don't
Right.
see it, so that's what makes it hit a little bit more for me.
Hmm.
Epiphany Engine is a incredibly monumentous task. I love it. Seeing all the creatives getting together, and I think I do want to say since the pandemic, and we started getting more like being able to use our internet more as far as like working together and crossover things, everything. We've seen um, uh, more projects where everybody is like working together, and
Hmm.
I love the fact that out of this horrendous event, there have been some positive things where people are saying, you know what, look at what just happened. Why are
Hmm.
we all on our islands when we can get
Hmm.
together
Right.
and
Yes.
work together? And I love seeing that. And this is like just like that times 1,000 with Epiphany Engine, which is an incredible comic. I've had the Tony Kittrell, Colleen Douglas,
Hmm.
Robert Jeffrey. I had
Yeah.
Andre Batts on to
Okay.
talk about it because this is a huge event.
Yes.
And I love the fact of you reciprocating that energy because
Yeah.
we got to pour into each other. We have to.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
It's a
dope.
And
community, so
that's
we want
been
to
one.
support.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh no.
No, I was gonna say that's been one of the problems long term since, and because you're a comic head like we are, so since probably about 2012, 2013, since we've had this sort of revival, or should I say, insurgence of Black creatives in the comic book space.
Mm.
And there was a number of missteps with centered around a lot of things happening, including the hip hop covers and all that kind of stuff. And unfortunately, it has taken us, in one sense, it's taken a little bit, in my opinion, I'll put it that way, just so that it's just me. In my opinion, feel like it's taken us a little bit too long to get to this point because we had I felt a little bit of some missteps in that environment. I feel like in the past 3 or 4 years, people have really, I think, understood that it's a better, we get more traction from a collective standpoint than, like you said, than when we're trying to be on our own island.
Yeah, I mean, I totally forgot about the hip hop covers too. I'm gonna be honest, I totally forgot about that because stuff like that, like because at the time I was like, okay, wow, I'm like, oh, wow, this is really a discourse and everybody. And then at a certain point, I was like, I'm still gonna buy your comics. Like I don't know, like and I understand having those healthy debates. Like you have to. That's how
Mhm.
you get communication. Sometimes having those
You
healthy
do, right?
debates.
You have to.
When people were going too far, I'm like, okay, maybe just sometimes you have to step away from the screen, drink some water, relax, laugh or something. Have
Right.
whatever it is. You have to
Sure,
have
sure.
that.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
I
yeah.
think I wish at times social media had a mandatory 1 month break where it would
Mm,
log you out of your accounts for a month
right.
and you could just go, okay, let me just center and get
Mhm.
myself good and situated and everything and
Mhm.
come back refreshed. But yeah,
If only.
Right. If
yeah,
only.
Yeah.
but there has been that like that coming together and that yeah when the scene started getting hot, it was like, oh well, because at one point I would go into a comic book shop and I would be hard pressed to find something to buy.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah. Then all of a sudden I was like, okay, y'all got to give me a month. Y'all got to just calm down, relax, put the keyboard down, and let me catch up on these 5 before y'all throw out these 10, because
Hmm.
everything is coming out is so great, and the bar is being raised with each project, and the work y'all are like iron sharpens iron. Y'all are just helping each other so much, and I love y'all seeing like, oh, this story. Wait, this is what they did. Damn, get rid of your whole script, rewrite it, and then it's like this is it. Then that person's like, damn, that's what they did. Oh, and it's this beautiful thing of everybody wants to be. It's like we all say, oh no, man, I'm trying to be like you, brother. No, brother, I'm trying to be like you. Nah, brother, I'm trying to be
Right.
like you, brother.
Yeah.
Is
Exactly.
that
Yeah. Yeah.
is that and if you don't know what that is, just go to a Black comic book convention and you'll see what that is. Seriously.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
If you never witnessed that scene, that's a beautiful scene to see when someone's like, "Oh man, here he come!" Like, look, man, I'm trying to be like you. Like, no, man, I'm trying. I'm like, look, man, I'm at your table, so I'm trying to be like you. It's beautiful to see. So I
Yes,
love
sir.
seeing that togetherness and everyone's not everyone, but it's becoming more of a
More of a
community.
collective, people working together.
Yeah, it's becoming
Mhm.
more of that, and people seeing that, hey, that's a cool project. Hey man, I was wondering if you wanted to talk about this. I got an idea. I thought you might be great to write or do art or edit, whatever it is. I
Right.
love seeing that. And that's the beautiful thing. I will have the actually I do in the episode description. I have the link for Kummba Concepts. So you can go on there, check out Action Biters, incredible, and check out those t-shirts. Y'all know I love a good t-shirt. Y'all know I haven't been wearing my t-shirts. I've had to give them some time and relax. Them t-shirts was mad. The t-shirts was tired. Them t-shirts needed a vacation. They put more than 40 hours a week. They needed their time. I'm not wearing the shirt for 40 hours for 40
Okay.
like hours a week, folks. I'm just
Well,
saying
please
they
get
need
one
the
of
break.
ours so you can get one of ours and show it off.
Look, I'm saying, look, I'm like I have a list of t-shirts that I'm like, okay, this, and I'm like, yeah, let me calm down because I gotta still eat and live somewhere. This is ridiculous. I'm out here spending everybody's money.
Understood.
So I mean, you have these great ideas and great concepts coming out of Kummba, which is incredible and amazing. That takes a toll, though. You're creative, as you said earlier. You got a lot going on. There's a lot of things going on. So I'm always asking about self-care. That's so important. We learned a lot about
Mhm.
that from the pandemic. Mental health. We got to stay grounded. We got to find our way. I'm going to ask you both. What's something that you do for self-care? I'm going to start with Chris.
For me, starting off top, like you said earlier and everything, limit your time on space online in these spaces, basically with arguments. I don't argue back and forth with people over things. I mean, you're not going to move me off my mindset about a certain thing, and I'm not going to move you. So just basically, just don't talk. Don't talk about it back and forth with that person to save your own sanity. Because they'll be online all day long going at it and everything over every little thing that's mundane. From the color of a certain Jedi lightsaber or whatever. It just, right, just stay away from all that. I tend to do a lot of hiking.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a nice little path where I live and everything, trail where I live. It's about back and forth about 5 miles. I do that basically regularly through the week. My headset on and everything, just get lost in the walk and lost in nature, things like that. Also, as a cancer survivor, I want less stress in my life. I need less stress. I need to unplug from all the craziness in the world and just basically just be for a while, And we all should try something like that on a regular because the internet is 24/7. Sometimes it feels longer than that and everything throughout the day because people go from one story to another story and everything. I mean, when do you take a break for yourself? When you take time basically just think about where you're going. So that's what I try to do on the regular.
That's I didn't realize black people hike so much. People come on here saying hiking. I'm like, are we really hiking like that? When nobody told me.
No.
I've been at the meetings and I'm like, y'all didn't tell me this.
Right.
Right.
Who forgot to tell me that black
I
people hike?
like I'll buy boots. I'll buy some pants. Like y'all let me know.
Yeah.
But I love that. First off, I'm so thankful that you did survive your
Thank you.
cancer. That I mean, any type of brush with death does change you. It changes you not just physically but mentally and spiritually. It changes a lot of things, and you start going, yeah, you know what? That ain't important right now.
It's
Yeah.
not.
So that, and I love the fact of the social media. Yes, back up, lightsaber or not, I don't care. I'm backing up. It's very important. But also the hiking is getting out there, getting that fresh air, and just being with nature grounding you. Like that's one of the best ways to just go to reset yourself. It's beautiful. I love that. Orlando, what about you?
For me, it was like learning not to neglect the other sides of who you are. As a kid, and particularly as a kid, many of us are polymaths when we're children. There are multiple things we're interested in and multiple things that we learn to do.
Right.
And I think over time, what I found in just observing my own life and other people's lives, we drop a lot of things either for various reasons without belaboring it. And I found for me is picking up other things that I've left is a way to continue my creative experience so that if I'm like Chris, I'm checking out of this, but maybe right at the moment I'm not into maybe writing, don't have anything I'm really writing, I'm taking a break from writing, whatever that is, then I'll do something digital art because that's something I've always liked to do. Or because I'm also a poet, I might be into writing, some poetry, and because I have a couple of books of poetry that I have out there as well. So I might go over to that lane. Or the other thing I do a lot of is I'm a huge, huge music lover. I was lucky enough to grow up in a home where I had this like really great spread of music because I had older brothers and sisters. My two oldest sisters were old enough technically to be my mom, and then I had I have music from their era, being born into say the early 50s, all the way down to my younger brothers and sisters who were born in the early 60s, and on top of that, my mother's music when she was born in the 30s. So like in the house, you had everything from Ella Fitzgerald to P-Funk and the Funkadelics and all that kind of stuff going on, listening in the household. So the hi-fi stereo that these people may not know about, all hi-fi stereo sitting on the floor next to the floor console that you better not touch unless you want to get a whooping with that house shoe. You lift it up and it's all kind of 8 tracks, albums, all that kind of stuff stepping over there, and you have to ask, can I play this? So
Right.
it's that era. It's that era that really that informed my music like today now. Because like even like people often like you have a very, very broad love for music and different types of genres. So I love black music. So it's my love of black music. So when you look at my player, because I'm old school, I still keep a player, not an iPod, but it's an old school, it's a player that I keep my music on. So I can keep it separated from my phone. And so when people have listened to my music, and when I have a mix list, it could be everything from Fela Kuti to Miles Davis to Saba the Pitted, currently like now, to Tim's, to sisters, to my brother Gideon overseas in the UK. So or it could be WizKid from the West Africa. So I just like great music, And so for me, one of those things daily, I try to take about an hour or so where I'm just really flooding myself with the best of music as I see it, that it really encourages me. And that's really my mental, those two things, being creative in other areas and listening to music really keeps me mentally and spiritually grounded.
You had me flashbacking because I had to ask, but you better not interrupt that conversation. You better stand, but then you can't stand it too long and to ask
Right.
like, what do you want? Like you have to know when to ask.
Right, exactly. When to ask after a certain
Excuse me.
favorite too, usually after a couple of favorite songs been played, and Mama might be making a segue from cooking greens to maybe doing the cornbread. You got a space in there where you can ask the question. You know what I'm talking about? The black experience with black mamas. You don't mess with the music while they cook.
Oh no, that's.
You said cornbread, and I was already out, man. Then you hit me with the greens. It was unnecessary. That was an unnecessary combo. Unnecessary combo right now, brothers. Unnecessary.
Yeah. That's how it was,
The music is very important. I grew up the same way where my mother and father were very much into music. My father had a lot of records. So I grew up hearing stuff I shouldn't have been hearing at that age, I guess, but you still heard it. So even now, that it has influenced my music taste where I'll randomly just go, I want to hear this. And it's just something that you might not expect of me. And then I'll put something else on that you go, oh, I wasn't thinking that I'm like, it's music. And if it hits my soul in a certain way, then I'm going to play it. It just hits me.
Like in my second book of poetry, what I did is like every poem, what I did is like I included a QR code at the top of the page under the title so that they experience. I wanted to try because somebody suggested to me, said, if all these poems were influenced by a particular song, he said, why don't you tell them the song so they have this kind of like multimedia experience of they're reading your work and they're being able to listen to the music that influenced you. So in my second book of poetry, Chris even encouraged me to do the same. He said, put the QR code, and so people can, like, when they read the poem, they can scan the QR code and listen to the music that inspired the poem.
That's a great thing. A lot more people are incorporating music and those codes into even comics and such. Like they'll have that code in there. It's like this song like inspired this particular splash picture. This is what I was listening to when I was doing this art, and I love that. As I know, Ray Comics has done that for, I believe, their last 2 Kickstarters for Joystick Angels. There's a comic from Boom. I can't remember what the name of it is. It was the first time I saw it, and I was like, oh, and I scanned it and I played it, and I was like, yeah, this fits that scene. I love seeing people do that and incorporate it because it helps with the experience, because it's like a soundtrack for a movie.
Yeah, exactly.
That same type of vibe, but it also puts you kind of in the headspace of who was writing it and who was doing the art. And it feels like, damn, and it brings you into it. Because let me tell you something. I remember, again, we grew up in a time where when you got music videos that were for the movie, you got clips of the movie in there, sometimes the star. And when you heard the song in the movie, you was like, oh, this scene is about to really be it.
Mhm.
Music can be such an important part of an experience when it comes to art form, especially
Yeah.
comics, novels, poetry, what have you. It can just enhance it more than
And
anything.
and it's funny you said that. One last way, it made me remember something. I remember Fela Kuti interview they had when, in his younger days, and they were asking him about the importance of the creativity of music itself and the art form itself. And he was like, "Listen, this thing, music, is not something to be played with." He said, "Music is one of our first. I believe music is one of our first forms of communication between us as a people, and it's been used to communicate in ways that language wasn't able for us to use."
Exactly.
So he said we need to recognize that music, particularly coming out of West Africa, has been a very strong and powerful instrument of thought, as well as freedom, as well as and as well as on top of just enjoyment of life and expression of life. So
No lies detected. Not one lie detected in that statement. I'm gonna be honest with you. It's very
yeah,
true. Now, look, we've talked about what helps you with your self-care, and thank you very much for sharing those. I always love hearing what we're doing, especially as black men, because I wanted to inspire more black men to take a moment, whether it's 5 minutes, an hour, what have you. Take that time and get yourself right, because you can't pour into the ones you love if you empty. You can't do it. You can't. So it's important that you do that. You maintain yourself so you can maintain the ones that you love, and it can just go all around as reciprocating energy. So I love it. Thank you very much for sharing that. Always appreciate that. But comics, that's why we're here. What are maybe 3 comics that are your favorites, old, new, what have you, ones that just hit you? I'm gonna go with Chris.
Off the top of my head, I would have to say Static. Dwayne McDuffie was, like a lot of people, he was our inspiration. May he rest. But Static basically got me into comics early. That and Ninja Turtles, the
Yeah,
original run on Turtles. And I'm looking at Static. I'm like, okay, these characters are black. They're powerful, and they're talking like this. They sound like me. They sound like people in the neighborhood. That was my draw as a kid to comics. Stories like Static. Time he was basically pretty much a black Spider-Man. The black Spider-Man that we
yeah.
needed at that time period. They were covering topics that before Image was seen as edgy. They were already doing those stories over at Milestone, those type of stories and that type of content. So that drew me to comics. Speaking of Image, I would say Spawn. I was a huge Spawn fan as a kid,
Okay.
with my teenage years, reading Spawn in high school and all. And I'm like, okay, you can be this gory, you can be this graphic, and you can still be successful in the market space and all. And you had characters like X-Men and Captain America, where the content was a step down in the action and in the dialogue because of the mainstream. Let's say the mainstream basically lens on those characters. They were Saturday morning cartoons. They couldn't get too edgy, but Spawn could be edgy on Friday nights on HBO. I like that kind of freedom. You know, exactly. And I like that. I love that and all. I'm like, if only Spider-Man or Batman could be on HBO and they can sound and do those type of stories and all. But
Mhm.
that never happened, and it's okay. So, but my other third pick would be, I would say, recent time. I would say Bitterroot.
Oof. All right.
Yeah, yeah.
Oof. All right.
yeah,
That was
All
dope.
right,
That
man.
was
yeah.
very dope, and I'm looking forward for more content from those guys.
Uh, everything you said, I agree with. Static was. It's funny when Static originally came out, I wasn't into it, and I think it
Okay.
was because it was about a teenager, and I didn't want to read anything about teenagers because I was a
Mhm.
teenager.
Right.
But now I go back and I read it, and I go, I wish I knew, but at that age, I just didn't have that mentality for it. I didn't. Spawn, I'm doing a rewatch of that now on Max. This is probably my 4th time watching it.
Okay.
One of the best
Yeah.
animated series out there. And the comic was so different because you have this hero, this anti-hero even,
Right.
and then you realize, and then you find out that he's black. One of the highest selling comics ever. This is like what they call it in a Doctor Who, a fixed point in time.
Mhm.
You could go back in time as many times as you want. You can never change the fact that Spawn exists, and
Right.
for it to be going as long as it has, and now it has this huge resurgence.
Right.
And there's like what 5 or 6 titles out now
Yes.
for Spawn. There's even a title with a team of Spawns. So that changed the whole thing in the '90s. That it did. And Bitterroot, I mean, come on, David F. Walker and Sanford Green and Chucky Brown. Yes. Yes, all day. Yes, it's one of those. Yeah, it's one comes when I was reading it. I was reading it along with at the time I was reading it, I was also watching Lovecraft Country,
Okay,
and
yeah,
they
yeah.
felt like just a perfect pairing.
Synergy, a synergy. Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah, yeah,
It
yeah,
felt
for
like a
sure.
perfect, and I was like, because I would watch episode, and I'm like, damn, want more episodes, and I go, oh, well, I have a couple issues of Bitter Root, so I can switch over to that right now, and then that next Sunday, I go right back, and I love that. Those are amazing picks, and all yes, Orlando.
For me, it is the collected works of Aaron McGruder's The Original Boondocks newspaper comic strip for me.
Yes.
Because I feel like for me, that showed me that it was okay for you to be black in what you were writing and what you're trying to give to the people.
Yes.
He was unashamedly black. He was unashamedly political. He was unashamedly direct about what it is and what it isn't. And some of his comic strips, you know as well as I do, were prophetic. Now we're seeing a lot of things because a lot of things that you like. Man, this brother had a lot to say before things happened. Even the things like, particularly some of the things that I feel like resonated with certain parts of the black community that didn't really understand, like particularly storylines around Thugnificent and Gangstalicious. A lot of that stuff now has come to fruition with characters with people in the industry like P. Diddy and 50 Cent and some of these. This it's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
The way he was so prophetic and what he was talking about and how the industry works and how unfortunately some of these people work against their own community in order that they can be saved. So
Yes.
I find reading those has been really encouraged me, really kind of set me foundationally, like even within my I would say even within my poetry, because like Lauryn Hill often talks about, like when that second album, when she wrote that acoustic album, Unplugged album, and there were a number of songs like Rebel that she said that when she would sing it, she kept altering the song, she said, from the original, because she was being afraid to sit with and sing the actual lyric because she was afraid what people might think. And I felt like reading through Aaron McGruder's work made me be unafraid even more. That this was the place we needed to be, even when it came to, like, we got a little bit of criticism from people that we knew about the title of our company, Kummba Concepts. Some people were saying
It's too black.
It's too black. Do you think people will get it? Do you think people will like run away from it because of the black and Africanness associated with it? And our thing was, if those people run from it, then those people run from it. But that doesn't change us and what we see it and how we operate.
Yeah, I mean, my thing, you can't run from that no more. You run from yourself. I mean, I'm black every day. We're all black every day and everything. You can't run from it. And so lean into it. And that's that.
That's very funny. It's too black. Well, we are black. I don't know what I don't know how much that doesn't make any sense. Like, it's too black. You do realize that we're black, correct? You do realize that.
I'm not sure.
I've been very aware for a while.
I'm not sure how you can be too black, but I do know in this country you can never be too white. And I'm not apologizing to the audience, but that's where we are now.
No,
and I feel like
I've said it way worse. Believe me, I've said it way worse. It's fine. It's fine.
And I just feel like in this country, a lot of times when particularly black men speak like that, they are sometimes ostracized from within and without of the community, because people think that if you talk, then you run people away from making other money, with other people who are in the same respect that you are, because you're speaking too strong.
Well, it's also the fact of, say, like somebody didn't know what Kummba was or they didn't understand it. You know what? Then this is a perfect teaching moment to say, oh, well, Kummba means this.
Indeed.
It doesn't have to be, oh, it's anytime people have to learn something new, a lot of times they run from it. Don't run from it, embrace it. You know what I mean? It's something that you're learning, so you can be able to call something what it is.
Right.
Correct.
So then you can show that you're willing to learn. You're seeing that person, that platform, whatever it is, and you're saying, I'm able to identify you correctly. Let me speak to you like this. And it's just a teaching moment, like, oh, I didn't know that. Oh, and sometimes just fun to learn something new about a different culture or different people. That's okay. It's knowledge is ever evolving.
Right.
There's always something new to learn. If you don't want to learn anything new, I suggest you go find a cave. I don't know where you find one nowadays, truthfully. That hasn't been discovered. Go find one and hide in there for however many years. But that's the thing. So having moments like that where you can have, companies that are centered on our culture, our experience, our languages, and go, oh, well, what does that mean? Or even if they're not pronouncing it right, you say, oh, am I saying this right? Well, no, it's actually said like this, and it means this. And they go, oh, okay. Now, maybe with that knowledge, they can help to represent you better in whatever it is. There's nothing wrong with learning new stuff. There isn't. There isn't,
And
folks.
I also think, sorry to step on your into your
No,
sentence
no,
there.
no.
I think that it's high time for us not to be afraid to show up authentically Black. You know,
Yeah.
to bring ourselves, whatever our experience is, not to be afraid to gather in spaces that are designed for Blackness, and not to be afraid to say, not simply say, I would like to see some more imagery of us in this media thing.
Right.
I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But unfortunately, some of us do run for that. But I think more and more of us, I think, are beginning to sit with and understand that there's absolutely nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, I believe quite a few of us begin to realize that why beg for a seat at their table when we can build our own house, and that's what's going on right now. With projects like the Epiphany Engine and everything, those are to me blueprints and all to realize that we have our own space. We can create our own space and we can basically thrive in our own space. I don't believe in this idea of as I call it the Highlander syndrome, where there can only be one. There's plenty of us,
Right, exactly.
But unfortunately, a lot of us fall into that lane that well, since this person is hot right now, you're gonna have to sit back and wait your turn if it ever comes. Why wait?
Mm-hmm.
They don't wait. There are tons of fantastic creators and everything that are not Black, and they're all thriving at the same time, and they're all basically creating projects simultaneously. Why can't we?
Right.
Yeah, and they're all being praised and acclaimed at the same time. We can all. It's not. Yeah, like you said, there is no quickening by taking out somebody else that's in it. There is no. You will not become the only one. I promise you. There will. I had to make that reference. I've seen that movie about 1,000 times.
He actually said the quickening.
I will not. I will unapologetically. I will not. I will not. I've seen the movie about 1,000 times. Thank you, Christopher Lambert. A Frenchman playing a Scotsman. I don't know how they got that casting to go, but all right, it's cool, fine, whatever. Yeah, but that's very true. It's very true. Everybody can flourish and thrive, and we can all celebrate each other and be like, oh, I dig that. And even again, working together, or even if you're not working together, if it's a project that you have nothing to do with, it's cool to say, hey, you know what? They've got this Kickstarter going. They've got this comic because I really loved it. I thought it was dope. This is what I liked about it. They've got this coming out. I saw some pages. It was awesome. Whatever you. I saw the story. It's totally okay to do that. It's okay to celebrate everybody. It doesn't diminish what you're doing.
No.
And it doesn't take away from your incredible, stellar work. It doesn't. I promise you it doesn't. I promise you.
Right.
You know what else I promise you? Food. Look, it's in the title. I tell you all this every week. It's in the title. Got you. I tell you this every week, folks. It's entitled Food, The Hungry Bleak. So one of you has a restaurant that you like to talk about, and the other one has, I want to say, a whole culture of food that you can speak about for probably days and weeks. So we're going to go with which I love food, so I could do that as well. I want to go with Orlando. What is the food that you love?
I would say right now I've been really into not a particular restaurant, but a particular style of food. I would say, first of all, Ethiopian food just really moved me. The first time I probably got a chance to taste Ethiopian food authentically was 20 years ago when I was living in St. Louis. There was a Ethiopian restaurant authentic there in St. Louis, and I got a chance to eat. And for me, not only was the experience of the food and the seasoning, but it was the experience of what they were eating. And for me, 20 years ago, it was one of those things for me where I was experiencing this kind of like connection between Blackness, doesn't matter where it was. So the first time I'd eaten in that Ethiopian restaurant, I learned that they have a diet that is very similar to the diet of African Americans, which means it's similar to the diet of West Africans. So even though a lot of people talk about the injera, I love to talk about the greens. I love to talk about the lamb and how they cook it. I love to talk about the chicken and how they cook it, how the mixed vegetables, how they like to do just like we do in the Southeast. Take that food, put it usually in your fingers and dip that in some bread and all that kind of stuff and eat it. And like for me, the biggest thing for me that really got into it was this cultural experience of recognizing that they eat the same thing we do. They may prepare it slightly different, but we eat turnip greens, cornbread. We eating with our fingers over here. We love us some beef, some chicken, some fry, all that kind of stuff. Prepared in injera is no different. It's just their cornbread.
Yes.
Even though it's not cornbread, it's still their cornbread.
Correct.
You know what I'm saying? So that's why for me it was like this great eating experience, but also it was kind of like this social and historical experience that was really for me 20 years ago, really kind of solidified my thought process around how similar we are as a people, whether we're on the continent or in the islands of Africanness or United States or Brazil.
Okay. You got one more time to mention greens and cornbread before I kick you off. You got one more damn. You got one more time. You got one more damn time.
Yeah.
You still got to shift in my seat, right? You got one more time. You got one more time. Right, you got one more time. But yeah, that's a very great way to look at food and cuisine. Same ingredients, just prepared different ways.
Mm-hmm.
That is. I love the fact that you explicitly said seasoning. Thank you. I don't know why, but that word hit me. I was like, cornbread and greens hit me, obviously. But the way you said seasoning, I was like, that's a point. He trying to make a statement right there. But it's very true. It's the same thing. It's just prepared differently.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes I think that we're scared of trying different foods because, like, oh, we don't. Yeah, it's like, do you like chicken? Yeah. Okay, cool. Like, I have a friend. One of my oldest friends is from the Philippines.
Mm-hmm.
And he knows, like, certain things I don't eat, certain things I do eat. So he took me to this restaurant, this Filipino restaurant. And he's like, this is the chicken stuff right here. And he'll point it to me. And I'm like, okay, cool, bet. And I'm eating it. And I'm sitting there like, yo, this is ridiculous. Yes.
Yeah.
It's just about different. It's chicken. So if you like chicken, it's just going to be a different way. It's not like they just boiled it and threw it on your plate and said, have at it. Like, it's prepared seasoning.
Right.
Just different ways.
Prepared with, as we say, prepared. You always tell the difference between food prepared with love and food prepared with a lot of hate in your heart.
Right.
So you can always tell the difference between those things.
Because you can make a peanut butter sandwich, and it's like, okay, but if you make it with love, you're like, what type of is this ciabatta bread? What type of bread is this? Is this like the honey roasted nuts? Like, this is like,
use the best of the jelly, use the best of the peanut butter you can find.
You will talk about, well, the puree of the berry is peanut butter and jelly. No, baby. Look, the way you like, it's just the preparation. Right. This is on some chopped level stuff that you made this peanut butter. No full well, you sound dumb, but you still gonna say, look, this sandwich, because you have no other way to describe it. That love is its own seasoning.
Yes,
it is.
Yeah, it is.
I'm gonna be real. Love is its own seasoning. Now, Chris, what do you have for your favorite restaurant? Because I know I'm gonna be mad at you too. So go ahead.
There's a southern chain of restaurants in the South called Papa Ducks that serves chicken fried alligator.
All right.
Yeah.
Man, I'm about to kick you off too. This is ridiculous. All right, go on ahead.
It tastes like nothing else. People always says it tastes like chicken. It does not. It's its own thing. If you flavor something like chicken, it's going to taste like chicken. But alligator itself, even the sausage version of alligator sausage is great. It's better than chicken on some levels and everything, depending on how it's prepared. But chicken fried alligator is great. It's something that you need to experience and everything when you go into the South, be it Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi, or Atlanta. Atlanta has quite a few. So the next time you're in the South, check them out.
I actually just read the description for the crispy alligator, and I was like, okay, fresh cut potato sticks. All right, then it said Creole dipping sauce. I said, look, y'all gotta, and I know damn well there ain't no picture. Yes, there is. Look, I'm gonna tell y'all right
there. It is. Yeah. That's it.
I'm sick of both of y'all. Look, I'm gonna be real. I'm a grown ass man. This don't make no sense. I'm looking at this plate like, so what you doing later? I mean, like I'm trying to court this plate like it's like a love interest. Like I'm like, so what you doing later?
Yeah.
I mean, this
next
looks
time
incredible.
You got to get down there, man. You got to get to Texas or Mississippi or Louisiana and try it. Yeah.
This looks incredible. I'm not even and the sauce. I can smell the sauce. I can smell it. And that's it. See, look, you know what? I should name this show Seasoning. I probably will go back and just call it Seasoning.
Right.
I'm gonna be honest with you. So look, we have talked about Kummba concepts and the incredible things ahead. We've talked about Action Biters, which is this phenomenal all ages comic that will hit you regardless of your age, just because it feels good to read and you're rooting for these kids. And you're also, this is something that also hits me too, is if I'm like worried about the kids and I'm like, please don't go in there. Please don't go. No, don't like if I'm talking to it like it's a horror movie in a theater, I know the characters hit me. And there are a few books where I'm like, please don't go in that. Please don't go alone. So that's what hit me. And I love it. And also because they're kids and you want them to be okay. So that
Yes.
resonates with me. We have talked about your self-care routines and apparently how I'm one of the few Black people that don't know about hiking, which I'm gonna bring that up at the next meeting. Um, I'm very upset about that. And ways that you're centering yourselves. And thank you very much again for sharing that. We've talked about the comics that you enjoy, and they're just phenomenal hits, whether it is a politically charged satire that really hits at the heart and is very prophetic, or whether it is this family in Harlem that is trying to save the streets from all these monsters in Bitterroot and in the Boondocks, respectively. And we've also talked about food that you love, where there's the greens and cornbread. That's the last time I'll say this. That's the last time you're gonna hear that on this episode is greens and cornbread. I said it again. Damn. You know what? My bad. My bad. I'm hungry. Sunday dinner's coming up. I might have to go and do this.
Indeed.
And we've also talked about some crispy alligator, which looks incredible. Folks, I want you to thank so very much for being on here. I want you to thank Orlando Taylor and Chris Carr. I so appreciate you both. I appreciate what you brought to me as far as Kummba concepts and Action Biters. Do you have any final words for the folks?
No, I just hope that everybody engage with our content online through the website. Also, we have started a internet radio station called Afrophone Radio. So if you are familiar with TuneIn Radio or Live 365 or radio.net, please go on there and look for Afrophone Radio.
Yes, okay. You know what? If you could send me the link for that, I'll put that in the episode description too.
All right, no problem.
No problem. So, folks, that was the show. Incredible. This was great. I've only got 2 more episodes before I actually cut this season loose and go on a little bit of a hiatus, just to breathe and relax and trying to stop looking like barbecue during the summer because it's ridiculous. I look like freshly marinated ribs.
Go ahead and look at crispy and black like the barbecue. Barbecue
man, stop, because I'm about to go get some cornbread and greens somewhere. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know.
right.
If anybody's mama or aunt is cooking some cornbread and collard greens tonight, just let me know, please, because I'm and if you got crispy alligator, that's a bonus. I don't know if you have crispy. That's a random thing to ask somebody if they got crispy alligator. In Jersey, that's a random thing to ask. I don't know.
That needs to be normalized.
Yes,
that needs to be normalized.
Yes, you know what? Every week I'm gonna ask somebody for crispy alligator. I don't know how that's gonna go over, but I mean we're gonna see.
Yes.
So, folks, I want you to thank Chris Carr, Orlando Taylor for coming on, telling us everything about Kummba, sharing bits about themselves, and just having a really good time. I want to thank you all so very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Oh, no problem at all. I love it. We will be back next week, excuse me, to have some more fun, talk comics, maybe some reviews. Maybe somebody will stop by. I don't know. Sometimes people just stop by. This is the only place where I will let somebody just stop by. Don't stop by and knock on my door because you're not going to come in. But if you just come by, stop by, come on in. We're going to sit down. We're going to talk. We're going to have a good time. All right. So have a very good day. Enjoy the rest of it. Drink your water. Be safe out there, y'all. Please. It's hot, as you can tell. I'm looking like, look, pulled pork is all on my face. I don't even eat pork. It's crazy. That's it, man. It might just be because I'm a little bit darker too, which I do like about the summer because the richness of the brown sugarness.
Oh, man, yeah. The melanin is popping. The melanin is popping.
I'm hungry, man. I'm gonna stop talking about food. Y'all have a good day. Enjoy the rest of it. Be safe. And yeah, just do your thing. All right. I'll see you later.
You all take care.
Take care, everyone.